Yo, yo, yo! What it is, what it was, what's it gonna be?
Welcome.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Gen Expertise Podcast, episode 47, entitled The 48 Laws of Power. This is on our Gen Expertise Does book series. We are your hosts, Main and Rants,
Welcome.
aka No Two Dads Should Have All This Power, yo.
I like it.
What's good, brother, man?
I'm good, man. How's everything?
Everything is good, man. We just had the crazy heat wave here in the NYC. Every pump open on every block, running 24 hours a day.
Nice. I'm glad to see nothing has changed. That's good.
Nothing has dropped but the water levels. Yeah,
the water pressure.
The water pressure, yeah, man. That's about it. We got some rain coming now, though. Temperature finally broke, and we got some rain coming. But
Right. Yo.
We ended last week's show talking about that USA soccer.
Yeah. How they've gone further than they have. Yeah, you advanced again, right?
We advanced. We are in the round of 16 now. One more and to get into the quarterfinals, son.
Well, if they do it, I'm not. I got to go get the USA jersey.
Oh my God, the USA jerseys coming out. Main's gonna get decked out with the background. It's gonna
I gotta hop on the bandwagon.
It's gonna be absurd. So we beat Bosnia 2-0, and now we play tomorrow. We play on Monday. We play Belgium.
Okay, yeah. I hope they beat Belgium for sure.
Yeah, we owe Belgium because I think not the last World Cup, but the World Cup prior to that, we lost to Belgium with a spirited effort of Tim Howard, our goalie, who saved, like, they call it standing on your head. He saved like 17 goals. It was absurd, and we couldn't pull it out for him. So this is a chance to get a little bit of payback, I hope, and we can get into those quarterfinals for the first time since 2002. And who knows? Maybe we can go a little further. So shout out to the football team, USA Football.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you. There you go.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, by the time you hear this episode, we will be in the quarterfinals. So it's the summer of sports, man. We had the Knicks. Now we got Team USA. Let's get it, yo. Let's get it.
Absolutely.
So, episode 47. You know what? I was just thinking. I was like, maybe we should have did episode 48 because it is the 48 laws of power. But you know what I mean? It's too late now. We already.
I was thinking about that too. But I'm like, let's not be.
Because we did the Mamba mentality on episode 24. So I was like, you know what? I didn't quite think this through all the way, but hey.
And maybe this is part of a multi-part series because 48 laws is not going to be possible to get through.
Absolutely
in one episode.
Not. Absolutely not.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure
it out. But before we even get into this, I gotta say this is one of the tougher ones because I'm going on record as saying, like, I hate this book, bro. So Gen Expertise is purely for knowledge. This is for the culture, and I was introduced to this book in. The book came out in 1998, and I got introduced to this book early 2000. So still in my probably late 20s that I got introduced to this book. And the person that gave me this book, he gave it to me, said, "Ranch, read this book and tell me what you think."
Right.
And I read this book. And then when I came back and I gave it to him, I was like, yo, I despise this book. I think I even said, like, yo, this is the devil's handbook. I even think I told him this is the devil's handbook. So he was saying, so what he told me, he said, I didn't give you this book for you to implement everything that you read in this book. I gave you this book so that you know when it's being implemented against you.
Interesting.
Bars.
Yeah,
so that always stuck with me. Yeah. So it gave me a newfound appreciation for the book, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the book. And I did say that when my kids come of age, I'm going to give them to read the book, and I'm going to give them the same speech that he gave me. So I'm going to pay it forward. So I just had to say that, man, because
it's
we're for the culture here. We are 100%
so
knowledge. Yeah.
Even if we don't, excuse me, even if we don't exactly like or agree with the the subject matter, so to speak, we
Mhm.
still want to provide some information to our audience. So I commend you for for being part of this and participating and bringing this book up, even though it's not a book that you particularly like. And I
Yeah.
guess, like, to, just to get my 2 cents on that, though, to be honest with you, I understand what you're saying. Like, the book is like one of those, like I said, like I've said about other things, like it's a double-edged sword, right? Which a
Mhm.
lot of things are, but this book, what it tries to do is give you historical references for things that are sort of like universal rules that you should live by or
Mhm.
die by, so to speak, right? Like the
Yeah.
things that you're either going to follow or you're going to become a victim for not following them, right?
Yeah.
Or they're going to be implemented on you. And like you said, if you're not able to recognize when one of these laws is being used against you, then you stand a high percentage chance of being a victim of somebody that is versed in one of these laws, right? So
Absolutely.
for me, like I read the book probably around the same time as you. Like I think I feel like I read the book like I was in probably in my mid-20s when somebody introduced me to the book. When a friend of mine actually introduced it to me, and we would sit and have discussions about it. Like I got it and I read through it, and we would have discussions about the laws actually, right?
Mhm.
And this was years ago. Like I said, I was in my mid-20s. So it's been a while since I went all the way through it. But I do remember having like mixed feelings about some of these things, right? Because there, some of the advice that is given is basically how to manipulate people, right?
Yes.
So I understand what you're saying. Like it's a book that it's uncomfortable to say the least. Like some of the things are uncomfortable to face that human nature would lead you to have to use these things to kind of get ahead or to defend yourself or
Mhm.
to stay afloat, whatever the case may be. Like some of these things are uncomfortable because they involve like manipulating human nature.
Yeah. And to also to look at it in other terms too, nothing, I like to say nothing is 100% good and nothing is 100% bad. So having said that, there are some really good points in this book. There are some very good points in this book, but it's one of those things where it depends on the user. You don't know, the instrument is only as good as its user type things, but it could be used for good or it could be used for like really bad. And unfortunately, I feel like over the years, ever since this book has come out, it's been really used for bad in college. So I had to take business ethics. So when
Mhm.
I was reading this book, I was like, a lot of this stuff actually goes against a
Some
lot of
of
it,
it, yeah.
you
Some
know
of
what I
I
mean?
can
Some
see
of
that.
it does. Some of it does actually go against like what you've learned in ethics, and you see it being implemented daily. So, but it's for the culture. We're all about knowledge and education here at Gen Expertise, whether we like it or not. We will not be biased.
Yeah. And I think not liking it is kind of like just like I said, some of it is just uncomfortable, right? Like
Yeah.
and it leads you to have to kind of consider that some of the things in it are true of humans, right? Like human ambition,
Yes.
human motivation is not always pretty, right? Like so I think part of the reason why the book is uncomfortable is because it's revealing to you some of the things that you recognize in people without even reading the book.
Yeah.
um, Once you get into it, you're like, oh, I've seen this before. Like I've seen this behavior at work, or I've seen this behavior used on me, or I've used this, which is even
Hmm.
more uncomfortable. Like where you know that some of these things are just as you observe people in your life, you've had to use some of these tactics, right? Like
Hmm.
you know, and I think that's probably part of the discomfort that people feel when they read a book like this, when they read about some of the rules and laws that Robert Greene, who's the author, advises and some of this stuff, and he gives you real world examples of the implementation of some of these things, historical examples to kind of prove the point
Yeah.
of people that have used these rules or followed these laws, and then people that kind of did not follow the law and how they wound up, right? So I think that's part of my discomfort is that it's revealing something to me that I've already seen. Like it reveals like human nature, uh,
Hmm.
you know, in written form, but it's things that you've seen in the real world because it's part of like I said, ambition and motivation and just human frailty being revealed, right?
Yeah, it's like a mirror. You may be implementing it yourself and not know about it. So, but
Right.
this is kind of his bag too, because I have some of his other books that he wrote here, and he has, of course, the 48 Laws of Power, and then he has the Art of Seduction.
Right. And
Then he has,
mastery.
yeah, the
Mastery.
Laws of
Yeah.
Human Nature, the 33 Strategies of War, and the 50th Law, which he wrote, where he co-wrote with 50 Cent. It's like 50 Cent's book that I did not know that
Yeah,
50
yeah,
Cent wrote a book on that.
I I know about that. That was kind of popular too at its time, like when it was written,
Yeah.
the 50th Law, where 50 talks about his business tactics and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
things that he followed to reach success. But I'm surprised you don't have mastery on your list. Mastery is another one where he talks about kind of the keys to achieving success in whatever field you're in.
Oh no, I
Um,
didn't have that down. I didn't have that down on the list.
yeah, but yeah, so this is his bag, basically, like what you're saying. Like I agree with you. Like he tends to write about kind of human nature from the perspective of like historical example to let people know that here's a basic guideline and here are examples of someone that followed the guideline and what the results will be if you don't follow the guideline.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's definitely his bag. He
Yeah,
seems to
this
be
is his
like
thing.
he seems to be very aware of like emotional intelligence and very aware of human nature, so to speak.
Hmm. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about some of these. Of course, we're not gonna go through all the 48 laws. But we both picked out some of the laws that we're gonna talk about. We're gonna go back and forth and back. And talk
Pause
about
if it
some of the
applies.
yeah, we're gonna go talk about some of the laws that we handpicked ourselves. Some of them might be the same laws. So, but what you got first on your list, brother man?
So the first one for me is actually the first law,
Yeah,
because and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if the first law kind of resonates with me because every time I pick up the book, it's the first chapter,
yeah.
or because it's very relevant in corporate environments. I've been working in a corporate environment for almost 30 years now, right?
Hmm.
So the first law is never outshine the master, right?
Hmm.
And it talks about the danger of your manager or somebody that's above you um feeling like you're better than them, right? Like it talks about like the human frailty of ego, right? And how you have to be very aware of it. And especially if it's something that somebody that has control over your fate, right? Like or control over
Hmm.
how far you go. Right. And the reason why I guess I say manager right away, because like I said, I work in a corporate environment. And when I read this law, um, the advice that Robert Greene is giving is that even if you have a better idea or you're smarter or you feel like you're more personable or you're more friendly or people find you funnier or whatever the case may be, you
Hmm.
have to kind of like downplay that when it comes to your interactions with people that are above you or people that have any power over how far you get, right? You have to be very careful about it because if they see you as a person that's smarter, or if they see that you have better ideas, or if they see that people like you more, or you're more personable, like I said, you have a better sense of humor, um, whatever the case may be in terms of like your interactions with other people, um, they might feel threatened, right? Like you got to be aware of that, right? And
Hmm.
what what happens is if you don't follow that law, you might offend the person that has power over how far you get in business. If that's what you're into, right? Like, or how far you get in education, really anything. This applies to anything. Like anybody that has some say over you reaching some next level, how much you get paid, anything like that. You have to be careful not to offend them by being too good, right?
Yeah.
And you have to even Robert Greene's advice is that even if you have an idea, you kind of have to manipulate a situation to make it look like it was their idea. Sometimes you have to kind of like
Hmm.
talk to them in such a way where they feel as if you are kind of soliciting advice from them, right? Like you always have to make them feel smarter than you are. You have to like encourage them in that way. You have to make it look like they're the ones that are giving you the boost, not the other way
Hmm.
around. right? So even if you have a great idea, you have to find a way to make it look like it's their idea. And then you
Yeah.
also have to praise them in situations where people are praising you. Every once in a while, you have to attribute it to that person so they feel better, so they don't feel threatened by it, so they don't feel left out. Um, and the other thing I should say is that this is not always the case, right? Like, so the exception to this is that there's gonna be people you work with that want you to do better than them, right? Like they want to be around a person that's smarter. They feel
Hmm.
good in a sense that, let's say, like, just to give the example in the corporate environment again, you might have a manager that's glad that they hired somebody that's brilliant and smarter than them, right? Like you have people that don't have the same ego about it, that they feel like your success is their success regardless of who gets the credit, right? So you got to just be cognizant and aware, right? Like they call this emotional intelligence for a reason. Like you have to be able to assess the personalities that you're working with and then act accordingly, basically, right? So
Yeah.
that first law resonates with me because I've had managers with varying qualities, like, varying personality traits, where some have been kind of threatened if you get even more attention than them, more if people see you as more personable, like I said, or more approachable, they kind of feel a little bit threatened, right? Or
Yeah.
if over their head in any type of way, they feel threatened. Like if you have an idea, you better go to them first before you go to anybody,
Hmm.
Um, and I've also had managers that just want you to have complete autonomy over your work and over your ideas, and they want you to just do your thing, right? They want you to act like a leader all the time, and they don't feel threatened by it. They just,
Hmm.
like I said, like your success is their success, right? So it's one of those things where you just got to be careful, man. And Robert Greene gives historical examples of this. Like I forget like the exact story, but he tells like a story about this where there's like a king who's the person that's working for him tries to throw him a party, and by in throwing him the most lavish party he can, he actually winds up getting beheaded or put to death, right?
Yeah.
Because people are so impressed with this
By
party
him and
that
how he put it
yeah,
together. Yeah.
yeah, they're attributing it to
Hmm.
him. And then, the ruler is actually threatened by this and he feels slighted by it, right? Like, so he winds up putting this person to death who thought that he was doing a good thing, right? He thought he was currying favor, but what he was actually doing was making himself look bigger than the ruler. So Robert Greene always gives historical examples of kind of both behaviors, like whether you follow the law and then if you don't follow the law, and he tells you what the end result might be, right? So in a corporate environment, if you're not following that law, you could find yourself getting fired, demoted, not getting the promotion that you want, not
Hmm.
getting the raise you need. You might be held back by it, right? Like, and the crazy thing is that the irony of it is that you might be being held back for being too good if you
Yeah.
don't know how to use that talent um, in order to make both you and people above you look good, right? So yeah, that first one is one that resonates with me for that reason because I've seen it in practice, I've experienced it myself, and I feel like unfortunately, like it's one of those things where you have to be very cognizant of it when you're working with anybody. Right? And I would never say dim your light, but I would say just be aware that you need to bring people. Sometimes you got to bring other people into your light. Like
Hmm.
you got to let other people shine as a result of your light. I wouldn't never say dim your light, but make sure that your light is shining on everybody. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he came right out the back. Like his first couple of, he came out at the back like, yo, this is what it is. This is what we talking about here. I
Yeah.
was like, dag.
Like, it's life or death.
Yes,
By
yeah,
the
you
way,
know what I mean? I've been in situations where I haven't gotten promoted purposely because the person thought that by me getting promoted, it would literally put them out the door. Like they'd realize like the job that I was doing and then it would take their shine away from them.
right.
Or they would be like, he's doing too good of a job. So eventually they're going to offer him my position. So that's personally happened to me a couple of times, man. You
So,
know,
but that's what I mean, man. That's why the book gets
but I saw
uncomfortable
it coming.
because yeah.
Yeah, said I saw it coming, but I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but that's why the book makes you uncomfortable, and that's why it's not a book that you could say I like this book exactly.
Yeah,
Even
man.
if you do see these things in action and you agree with how to handle these things, it's uncomfortable, man, because it
Yes.
shows, like I said, an ugly side of human nature that we're not always prepared to deal with.
Yeah, man.
or to admit that it's happening, right? Like it's very hard, and like you said, it's a mirror to real life. Yeah.
I had number two, actually. You had number one, I had number two. And number two, never put
Early in
too
the
much
book.
trust in friends and learn how to use enemies. So
Mm,
he has a quote, and I have it here. It says, "In reality, you have more to fear from friends than enemies. If you
mm.
have no enemies, find a way to make them." I was like, yo, that is a miserable experience, B.
Diabolical.
That is diabolical, son. And he says friends are envious, entitled, they will modify their behaviors to hide true intentions. But enemies and adversaries will work harder because they know they're on shaky ground with you, and the relationship is purely transactional. Working with an enemy will also keep you sharp and on your toes. Now, this goes back to my what we talked about with keep your friends close and your enemies close, as they say. But I said I don't want my enemy knowing too
Yeah,
much about me. Like I don't want to walk around being on my toes all the time when it comes to that. And we actually happen to be blessed where we have a core group of friends that we actually can depend on, we can trust. And
right.
we don't really move in circles like that. So when you read something like that, it's kind of like you can relate to it because you may see it, but you can't relate to it because it's not your always your inner circle, or at least you don't think it's your inner circle. But when he said you create some enemies if you don't have, and to a certain extent, it is true where um you may find a job for somebody and they don't do well, because he also says that, like as he said, that friends can be entitled, especially if you're the boss and then you get them a job somewhere, they can feel like they're the friend of the boss and they can kind of do what they want, and it's disappointing at times, but these are things that do happen. And in sports, because I always like to throw sports references in here and there.
Sure.
Everyone loves the assistant coach until the assistant coach becomes the head coach. Everybody does everything what the head coach wants to say because he's pushing you. You may not
Right.
like him, and the assistant coach is the guy that puts or the female who puts the woman who puts their arm around you and tells you like, this is gonna be all right. You just need to work on this or work on that. So by the time they slide up into that position, you're still looking at them as this nurturing person, not realizing or not caring in some aspects that their job is on the line. So you may not give your best, and you end up giving your best for the person that you despise instead of the person that you actually care for and have feelings for. I had a boss once tell me, I said, "Yo, this is one of the realest things I ever heard, dogs." And he was like, "Look, man, if it's me or you, it's you."
Right.
And he said, "I'm not sacrificing my family and my kids, putting food on my family's table because you want to act up and be a knucklehead and not do what you want to do because you feel like we're supposed to have the same relationship as we did when we were coworkers and we were just working side by side. You have to respect the position." So
Wow.
yeah, man. Yeah, I used that when I became a manager and I was supervising stuff. I would use that all the time, man. I was,
Right.
some people look at it, um, some people look at it as an insult, and some people take it as like just being like real. And someone like telling you how it is. Someone once told me, "Don't trust anybody in here. Don't even trust me."
Mm.
You
Wow.
know,
That's
like I'm not
rough.
gonna, yeah. And he was like, "Look, I'm not gonna do you wrong, Rance, but I know that I'm not gonna do you wrong. You don't know that I'm not gonna do you wrong, so always stay on your toes." It's a cold world out
Wow.
there, bro. It's a cold world,
That's
but I
very
appreciate it.
cold.
I appreciate the honesty. I'm one of those
That's
people that I always want to know
cold-blooded
where I stand.
honesty.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, right? That's gangster. That's gangster, man. So
Interesting.
I don't know how I quite feel about, well, I do know how I quite feel about not having, I don't want my enemies that close to me and I don't want them around me. But we have both probably been in positions
Yeah.
where we've gotten friends or even family members, positions and opportunities, and they've made us look foolish.
Yeah. Absolutely, and with this law too, like like from what I remember reading about this, Robert Greene also talks about the fact that an enemy is more likely to feel like they have something to prove. Like if you do your
Yes.
enemy a favor, they're gonna feel like, okay, I need to prove myself because if it's an enemy or like a op, as they say, as the young people say, they're gonna
Hmm.
know that you'll have that you have that type of relationship where you're in opposition, you've been adversarial, or you've been an
Hmm.
enemy in some way. If they do get a chance to work with you, or if they have to work with you in some capacity, and especially if you've done them a favor, or um you've done something to help them out in any way, then they're gonna feel more obligated to prove that they're worthy of of that chance and that
Hmm.
shot. Where, like you said, a friend might feel more entitlement. A friend is
Yeah.
gonna say, "Oh, we're friends, we're cool, so like I'm gonna get special treatment, or I'm gonna get the benefit of the doubt, or I'm gonna get favor whenever I need, right? Like I'm gonna get all types of I don't even know what to call it, but but like
Yeah.
they're gonna get chance that nobody else would because they're
Basically
friendly with you.
favoritism. Yeah.
Basically favoritism, and they're gonna take
Cronyism.
advantage
Cronyism.
cronyism. They're
Hmm.
gonna take advantage of that sometimes because they feel entitled to it, right? Whereas an enemy is not gonna have that sense of entitlement, and they're gonna probably do better by you because they're trying to prove something, right?
Yeah. Even if it's to make you look
So
bad, like their adversary will do the best job that they can, even if the motivation is to
out of
try to
spite,
make you look bad. Yes, out of spite.
they're gonna do good just to spite you, just and maybe just so you can't ever have one over on them, right? Like
Yeah.
so, if it's somebody that you're working with and they know that you're an enemy, and maybe that you hire them or you're a manager or something like that, they might
Hmm.
be doing well, just to make sure that you're not the person that could do anything to kind of to mess up their good opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another one that's kind of uncomfortable because it does fall in that category of keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Hmm.
And I think even 50 Cent had a lyric about this too, man. Like, and I only mentioned 50 because of his relationship with Robert Greene and the 50th Law,
Hmm.
but he also said something similar in a rap lyric, like in a freestyle lyric. He said, "Love your enemies and hate your friends, because your enemies stay the same and friends always change."
Oh.
Right? And I thought that was a clever lyric at the time. I'm like, yeah, and when you think about it, you think about it a little deeper.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, your enemies always stay the same. Your friends do
Yeah.
change eventually.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's where 50 got that from, but every once in a while, like that pops in my head too. Like your friends always change, enemies remain the same, and your friends always change.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just another one of those uncomfortable type of truths, right?
Hmm. Yeah. What you got up next?
The next one I have is the 25th law. It's recreate
Oh,
yourself.
I have that too. Great minds think
Oh,
alike.
okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool,
yeah, so
cool.
yeah, we
All
both
right,
have that.
good,
I
good.
figured there's a
So
lot of there are some positive things in here too. You know
yeah,
what I
this is
mean?
this I consider a positive one for sure, man. Like is
Yes.
recreate yourself. And he says, do not let society define your identity. Shape your own image.
Yes.
Reinvention is powerful. People who control their narrative often control their opportunities, right?
Hmm.
And this one is like one of those things where even without reading the book, you've heard this before, right? Like about the idea of the power of reinvention is something that we've heard before. Like it's advice that your parents might give you, it's advice that friends might give you, coworkers,
Hmm.
managers, people that care about you are gonna let you know that you don't have to stay stuck in any box, right? Like people that talk about thinking outside the box, people that say that you can try new things, you can have a new career, like and
Hmm.
you and I both know, especially you, like you've changed things like so drastically over the years, where you started out doing one job and then you changed it, you switched up, and now you have a completely different career that
Hmm.
to you is more making you more happy, it's more rewarding, and you're helping people. So there's no like pigeonholing you, so to speak, right? And I feel the same way about things, man. Like even in my career, like I've been working in technology, but there's so many different careers you can have in technology, and I feel like I've had a couple of different ones just
Yeah.
by the virtue of just not letting myself get stuck in one position, or not. thinking, okay, I need to learn this one thing and I'll be fine. Like I've always tried to kind of keep moving, keep relevant. And as a result, I wind up just studying and learning stuff that's like kind of on the cutting edge most of the time, right? Um, so yeah, this one I feel like is a powerful one, and it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those ones that doesn't make me uncomfortable because it's actually a positive to I feel like to reinvent yourself and to recreate yourself and not to let society or any group of people define you, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I take this one.
Yeah, nothing is 100% good and nothing is 100% bad. Law 25, recreate yourself. He says, don't accept the role society foist upon you. Recreate yourself by forging a new one that commands attention and never bores the audience, which is
Right.
pretty cool. I kind of think of um what's his name? William Ernest Henley, he wrote Invictus. I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my
Mhm.
soul. When I read that one, just you're gonna go out and people are gonna tell you that what you should be. People are going to tell you what you should be based on a lot of times what they feel they should be or what they feel that they are, and they may not want you to stray away from the pack. Like someone may say, I'm stuck in this position, so why would I want you not to be stuck in this position? Because seeing you succeed, so to speak, may make me feel a certain way.
Right.
So to recreate yourself and just to try and to fail and to succeed and just have that courage to do something different. That's how I really interpreted the law 25. And that's one of the laws that I'm going to like teach my kids. Like that's one of the ones that's going to
Right.
be highlighted in the book when I give it to them when they come of age. Like, yo, pay attention to
Right.
this, pay attention to that. The recreation of
Yeah.
yourself, of your personal existence, your personal creed, who you are, what you stand on. That's very important. I love that one. That was one of the highlights of the book for me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I think he as he mentions, like, you leave the audience, like, you're not boring the audience, so to speak, right? Like, so
Yeah, man.
I think what that also does is, especially if you succeed at the reinvention part of this, you're giving other people permission to do the same too, right? Like that's the positive part about this. Like by shining your light and
Yeah.
by succeeding when you make that pivot, you're also giving other people permission to kind of do the same. Like people can look to you as an example, and then people have to respect that, right? Like if you make a pivot and change something about yourself that people didn't expect, especially, they're forced to kind of respect that, man. And you, like I said, like you kind of give people an example to follow and do the same, especially like like you said, your kids too.
Yeah, man.
If you could teach them that law, and especially if you can give them an example of how you've done it in your own life, it's going
Hmm.
to be that much more powerful.
I have Law 29. Plan all the way to the end and map out all possible outcomes before you start.
Mm,
That's a very
that's a tough
important
one.
one. Yeah, yeah,
That's a tough
yeah.
one.
So you kind of have to look into the future a bit. And Maine don't like looking into the future all the time. Maine
I
likes to stay in
try.
the present. He changed the present, but also my man Maine likes to be prepared, son. So he will
I
look
try
into
to
the
put,
future.
yeah, I definitely will prepare.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
I
you're
also
right.
like
You're
to
right.
think of I tend to make every important decision off of worst case scenario at times. What's the best thing that can happen and what's the worst thing that can happen? That's what I like to make a lot of my most important decisions based off. And one of the things that he says is when you're planning to the end, don't be fooled, so to speak, by the your success at front, is at the beginning. He says the illusion
Mhm.
of momentum, as he calls it. He said, don't get drunk off of early success because if you get drunk off of early success, you basically won't be prepared for your first misstep. And he says, when you don't plan ahead, your first misstep creates panic. What Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the
Like get
face.
punched in the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get punched in the mouth, are you going to panic or do you have a plan B? Now, if you successfully plan all the way to the end, you'll have a plan B, and the greats have a plan C and a plan D and a plan E. But if you just so happy and you celebrate, case in point, Wimbledon is going on,
Right.
and I
Shout out
love
to
to
Naomi Osaka.
Yes, with that beautiful, the beautiful. Yo, she had on the most gangster, all white. What do
Like
we
a what
call
is
it?
like
What
a
is
like
it?
a like a samurai kimono or
A
something. Like yeah.
kimono, said. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I watch these tennis, I like for the underdog to win. Everybody wants to root for the underdog. But I watched a match the other day, and this girl, she beat like the number 2 player in the world. And you would have thought it's only the third round. You would have thought she just won Wimbledon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking and I'm happy for her, but at the same time, I'm like, this is only the third round. You got to win 4 more rounds. If you're this excited and you're giving this much emotion into this one, I mean, she's falling on the ground, she's crying, she's talking about growing up in I think she's from the Philippines and not having sneakers and all this stuff, like she's made it. And it's like you have another round to play. And now the person that you're playing in the next round has been a finalist in Wimbledon. She was like number 2, 3 in the world at one point. So, how are you mentally preparing for this next round when in your mind you pretty much accomplished the biggest thing to accomplish besides winning the actual championship?
Right.
So that's one of the things like you didn't plan this all the way to the end. You clearly didn't plan this all the way to the end. You saw round 3, you saw your potential opponent, and that was your final. In your mind, that was your final. Now I hope that she goes further and maybe she does get to the final, but she didn't map that out correctly, dogs. And that's one of the pitfalls where it talks about the illusion of momentum, you know?
Mm.
I mean, man, she was
Yeah,
crying.
because it sounds like she peaked too early. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you let yourself peak too early, and then it's only downhill to go from there. But
yeah,
hopefully not. You know,
yeah.
but
Hopefully
I could
not.
see. But that's the danger that you put yourself in and peaking too early. Like you know, like you reaching this level of enthusiasm
Hmm.
as if you've won something, and you've only managed to open the door to the next level, you know,
Yeah,
which is positive, but you know, like you said, like you can't let that kind of distract you from the next goal, right? Like you can't get
yeah,
so happy that you're distracted, right? So
yeah.
hopefully, you know, hopefully it
Hopefully,
doesn't happen.
and to her credit, I think that she kind of caught herself in the
Mhm.
moment because she did say like, I know I am talking like this is it, but I am back in focus. I gotta focus. I do know, having said all of this, I do have another round to play. This is not like the end for me. I have to, and I'm like, I hope you take your own advice on this one.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
So law number 29, plan all the way to the end. What you have up next, my
It's a good
brother?
one. Law number 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once.
Oh,
So this is another one. Like I said, like a lot of this is gonna be based on my experiences, like as in a corporate environment, right? Because I feel like um even when I was younger and I read Robert Greene and I read this book, I applied a lot of this stuff to the work environment. Because that was where I felt like this was most applicable, to be honest with you. So when it comes to this, like it says people resist losing familiarity more than they resist gaining improvement, right? So even if you have great ideas, it's there's like kind of an emotional intelligence that is required even when you have good ideas, right? Especially when you're coming into like I said, a corporate environment, you're coming into work. There's another book that I'm reminded of. I think it's called The First 90 Days or something like that. Like I
hmm,
can't I think that's the title of it. But the bottom line is that that book also talks about what to do when you first enter a new job, right? And this applies to if you're in a new job, a new position, a new group, a new department. You have to be very cognizant that you read the room, so to speak, and that you understand the culture around you. You understand the people around you, what they expect, what they're
yeah,
used to, right? Because you come in with a lot of great ideas. You could be just kind of being disruptive, right? Like, and you have to be cognizant that you don't disrupt the kind of chemistry that's going on there before you
Mhm.
came, right? So sometimes people come into a new company and they ask around, like they say, "Hey, how do we do XYZ?" Somebody might tell them, and they might right away criticize that, right? Like they might say, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's not the right way to do it." Where people have this tendency to say, "Well, at my old job, here's what we used to do," right? And
Oh,
it's like
dog.
what, and it's like one of the worst things you could do, right? Is tell people how you used to do things at your old job, or in my old department, or
My old
in my in my
manager.
old yeah, my old manager used to do this, or in
Oh
my
my
old
gosh.
role, my old team.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to hear that when they're in the middle of their work, right? Like in the, people are working their job and they may have been doing it for a while, and they have a certain chemistry. Even if they don't love it, there's a certain pattern that emerges when you work with people for a certain amount of time, right? Like you kind of get used to it. Even if you're not in love with it, you you come to expect things to be a certain way, right? So when somebody comes in to try to challenge that, you just got to be very, you got to tread lightly, basically, right?
Mhm.
Or you could find yourself just like in the first law of not outshining the master. You could find yourself in more trouble than you bargained for, right? Like you could find yourself with enemies, like in the workplace. Like you could find yourself with people that just don't like you because you came in right away trying to implement change, even if you're right. Right? This is one of those situations where it doesn't matter if you're right so much. What matters is how you communicate, the pace that you go at, and just assessing things. Like people have told me, like when you go to a new job, you have to know like how to write an email signature. Like pay attention to the smallest detail. How do people sign off an email? Do they say regards? Do they say thank you? Do they
Mhm.
say best?
Best
What
wishes.
best wishes?
Mhm.
Whatever. Like even small details like that matter, right? Like because people notice little things like that. You got to understand, how do people like to communicate? Do people want to send email? Do people like to IM? Do people want you to pick up the phone and give a call? Do people want to be invited to a meeting and talk face to face? Right? Like
Mhm.
all of that stuff matters, and those are things that within, like you said, like I said, like this other book, The First 90 Days, it talks about how within those first 90 days, you should be learning the company culture. You should be learning your team culture. You should be understanding like who's who. There's a social hierarchy at any job where you need to understand that and where you fit into it, right? So, so this law of preaching the need for change, but never trying to reform too much at once, is really about like kind of pacing yourself and making sure that when you're trying to introduce change, even if you're in charge, like even if you're the manager, you want to be careful not to spook the rest of the team by moving too fast or by being too heavy handed. You want to introduce things in such a way where people understand like what the benefit is to them as well, right? Like so when you introduce things, you want people to know where they fit in. You want people to know how it benefits them. You want to know, everybody wants to know what's in it for me, right? Like so when you talk to most
Mhm.
people, that's another uncomfortable thing about human nature, is that when you're talking to people, even if it's about an idea, even if it's about an opportunity, a lot of people want to know, if they're not admitting this, that they want to know what's in it for me. What am I getting out of this? Why should I
Mhm.
participate? Why should I cooperate? Is the thing, right? So this particular law, like I said, it resonates with me because of like the experiences that I've had in a corporate environment where, as a young person, like I was really quick to say, hey, we should do it in like we should do it this way, like and I had to learn sometimes, and not every time. Sometimes I would be quiet and I would listen, or like I would wait till I learned more. But there have been times where I spoke too soon, or I spoke in the wrong audience, you know, or I contradicted people that maybe I shouldn't have in a public forum, right? Like maybe I should have
Mhm.
kept it private, or maybe I should have said something after the meeting. As they say, take it offline is kind of the phrasing.
Yeah.
Um, but but it's something that you learn, you either learn over time, or somebody has to pull you to the side and teach you, or you learn it the hard way where you suffer negative consequences as a result of not having that emotional intelligence, not reading the room, not having situational awareness, can cost you, right? It can make enemies without even intending to, just by not being aware of that type of thing. So that's this is one of the laws where I feel like it's another one that's not negative or positive. It's just a reality. It's an uncomfortable reality that even if you have positive changes you're trying to make, you have to pace yourself. It could be a disruption if not done properly, right? And if you don't have the proper buy-in from the rest of your team and your management and so on, right?
Yeah. Yo, there's nothing worse than a person who walks into the room with the blinders on
Yeah.
and they just have something in their mind what they want to say or they want to do, and they don't pay attention to anybody else around them, yo. And they're
Right.
almost like you can almost see them like I hate being talked at. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
one of my pet peeves. Um, you want me to tune out? The fastest way to get me to tune you out is to talk at me. So you just see somebody, and even if this the best idea in the world, and you know they're just talking, they don't want your input. They don't want to know what you think about it because they think it's like the greatest idea ever. Is a
Right.
pain. Yo, dogs. That I can't even come out the words how mad that makes me when I see that. That
Yeah,
and the
and
person
I'm
that always
sure.
says we used to do it like this, or I used to do it
Yeah,
like that, or I
man.
used to do it.
This it's,
You
it's
know what
the
I mean?
worst thing. It's probably one of the worst things you could say, and as you, especially if you're joining a new team,
Yeah,
even if you're the
man.
manager, even if like whatever the circumstances, when you're joining a new group, one of the worst things you can say is that here's how we used to do things in my old group, or here's how I did things in my old job.
Yeah,
It's
man.
really it's really not the way to start the conversation, right? Like you can bring up new ideas without making people feel like they're doing something wrong, right? Like you can
Yeah,
introduce new ideas without doing that, right? That's what
yeah,
emotional intelligence and situational awareness is all about, right? Because, like you said, like you shut down as soon as somebody starts doing stuff like that. You start to shut down. Not only if they're talking at you, but if they start
mhm,
that insinuated that you're doing something wrong, and here's the right way that I'm bringing from my old place, you
yeah,
know,
man.
that's a quick way to shut everybody down right away and to shut down communication right away. So I think that, you know, in this case, Robert Greene is giving like sound sound advice, just not to be disruptive with your good
Yeah,
ideas, right? But to learn how to pace it and learn how to communicate it in a
yeah,
way that's not going to hurt you in the process, right?
yeah. A wise drunk man once told me, never volunteer the information when you're walking into a room of strangers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, right. You're right. Get to know people first and then introduce your
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah, yeah.
Get
Don't
to know who's
volunteer,
who.
dogs. Yeah, that's a good one. That was number 45, right?
Number 45.
Number 45. All right, mine is I have number 12, law number 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. And that's crazy because they straight up like calling people victims. Like he's like straight
That's how
up
you know
declaring
that this is one of
warfare.
those laws that's diabolical.
Yeah, he's like just straight up declaring warfare on you. So it says a sincere act of honesty or generosity can lower a person's defenses, making them open to your influence. Offer small favors, give gifts, be unusually generous. These are the things that you see a lot of things that people implement to this day. Um, I want to go back to what I said before about the Blu-ray disc. Honest man doesn't get hustled.
Right.
You know, and also the thing is it really a sincere act of generosity and honesty if you're doing it to get something? That's what I was thinking about
That's
it.
a
Like,
it's such a thin line, like because
yeah, man.
yeah, I don't know how you pull that off. Like, is it sincere if you're doing it with an ulterior motive?
Yeah, man. Is it really that sincere? This is one of the examples, historical examples he gives of Count Victor Lustig. And I think he was a French guy, and he called himself the Count to make himself sound more prestigious. And he was famous for actually selling the Eiffel Tower twice. So he
Oh
in
gosh.
1925 he came up with a idea as he posed as a French government official, and he convinced a scrap metal owner that the Eiffel Tower was old and scheduled for demolition. And then so basically like it was like up for sale. And this guy, he gave him all of this money. And he skipped town. Soon as he got the money, he skipped town. And the guy was so embarrassed about it, he didn't like go to the authorities and report it to authorities. Because how are you gonna say I've been robbed? The dude sold me the Eiffel Tower.
You can't say that.
You
I would
know?
say it,
And
but you
and
can't
it's
take that type of embarrassment. I get
yo,
it.
that's super embarrassing, man. So So he says like offer small favors and give small gifts and try to manipulate people. Like I've seen personally people giving someone something under false pretense. I think one example he also gives is kind of like falling on your sword and saying like if you made a mistake, oh man, that was a mistake I made. That was so dumb that I did,
Right.
and disarming the person, disarming them so that you can get the upper hand and you can influence them
He talks
and
about
get
that.
them
Like
doing what you want.
there's another law. Like I think you're talking about the one. I forget what number law it is, but it's a law about surrender. Like
Yeah.
using surrender as a tactic for that reason, right? Like because when you surrender, you kind of disarm your enemy in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're weak, it might buy you time. You know,
Yes.
another diabolical law.
Yes. Yes, man.
Using surrender as a tactic in that way is another kind of
Dog
manipulation
is
manipulation
crazy.
tactic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like waving the white flag and then punching somebody in the back.
Right. Right.
Having them
Right.
like, you know what? Yeah, he admitted defeat. And then he just like, no, no, no.
Yeah. Right.
Just basically getting your person to drop their guard. And they straight up call them victims in the book. You
Yeah,
know, so that's
and that's just another one of those uncomfortable truths though, that people will drop their guard if they feel like you're weak or they have the upper hand. And if you can kind of manipulate that and kind of play possum, so to speak,
hmm
you could definitely win out in the end. And it's just uncomfortable, you know. It's one of those ones you hope you're never in a situation to have to use. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
but yeah.
man. So number 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
Be sincere, but do it with a motive.
But do it with a motive.
Oh man, that is crazy work.
Yeah, man.
So the next one that I have that kind of resonated with me is Law 47. Do not
Mm,
go past the mark you aimed for, right? And to me,
mm,
this translates into kind of know when you've won and stop, right? Because there's times where people win. And what Robert Greene says is that the point at which you've won is kind of the most dangerous point to be at, right? Because there's nowhere to go but down, so to speak, right? Like, and
mhm.
you're at a point where you're probably most vulnerable because you feel like it's something like what you described with the tennis player, right? Like the Philippine tennis player, like she feels so happy, but if you get too happy, you're at a point where people are
Get
not only
complacent.
like yeah, you get complacent. You're
Mhm,
not really focused on the next goal because you still have further to go. But this win has gotten her so excited that she's a little bit distracted by the celebration of it all and the excitement of it all that she's not really preparing for the next adversary, right? Like the next
mhm.
contestant that she has to go against. Like so she has to go against somebody, and that's what you need to really focus on, right? Like so there's some feelings around this, like hubris, man, overconfidence kind of kicks in when you've won.
Mhm.
Um, Something called overconfidence bias, right? Um, so it's really important to kind of and it also kind of ties into what you were saying about kind of planning out things to the end, right?
Mhm.
Because when you've won, is sometimes you don't know what to do with the win, right? Like you've
Yeah.
won now.
You
What
just
do you
looking
do?
around
You
and it's
should
like,
really stop, right? And one of the he gives an example of like Napoleon. Napoleon at the time was a French general. He won a lot of battles, right? He won battles across Europe. What he kind of had a fatal flaw of trying to invade Russia because he had won so many battles. He tried to go against Russia and wound up in a campaign that wound up killing a bunch of his men, right?
yeah.
So Robert Greene uses him as an example of a person that won and didn't know when to stop. He didn't know what to do with being a victor. Like he just thought he could keep going because of the hubris and because of this overconfidence that you sometimes get that you don't understand that you're probably at your most vulnerable, man. Like especially I would think like in a battle, even if you've won, you got to kind of assess your casualties. You got to assess, what weapons did you deplete, right? Like
Yeah.
what have you done in terms of spending your resources in order to win, right? So that's something that you need to assess too. When you've won, when you're at the top of the mountain, you got to assess like, hey, how much energy do I have left in the tank? Who's coming after me now that I'm at the top? Stuff like that. Like it's just like to take a beat and take a breath and understand like, hey, winning might be the time where you're most vulnerable because there's nowhere to go from the top but down, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that also resonates with me because the same thing can happen in any type of situation, man. Not just in a corporate environment, but just in life, man. Like in sports, in in your interactions with other people. Like you have to know when like a deal is done and you've won. Like or if even like as kids, like in a fight, we used to like we you know kids that once they've won, they just keep going. They'll keep hitting the kid that's down, right?
Yeah.
It's like a lesson that you have to teach even children. Like, hey, know when you've won. Even if you, God forbid, you got to get into a fight, you don't keep kicking somebody when they're down, right? That's another danger of not knowing when you've won or when to stop, like or
Yeah.
when you've achieved your goal, when to stop. Like you don't rub it in people's faces when you win in any type of match, right? Like you taught that.
Hmm.
Be a good sport, be a good winner, right?
Be
Is part of it.
humble.
Right? Be humble. Even in victory, you gotta try to be a humble winner, be a good winner, right? Like where they tell people to be a good a good loser, don't be a sore
Yeah.
loser. This law teaches you that you also need to be a good winner. You got to be humble. You got to be thoughtful about it, and you have to assess what this win actually means, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
And after a
that's
while,
my
like a person, people will turn on you. Like there's a there's an example that um I forgot who told me. Some people always telling me stuff, but I can't always remember. There's probably an uncle or a brother. Sometimes when you beat the bully that everybody hates, you become the bully that everybody hates. So
right. You
like
got to be careful
you
about
finally
that too.
stand up. Yeah, you finally stand up to the bully, and you've beaten them down so bad, and then you're just gloating over it that everybody starts looking at you and they start feeling sorry for the person that was bullying everyone in the first place, and now you take the place, and now everybody hates
Right.
you.
Right. You got to be
Mhm.
careful of that. Like you talked about that, I think last episode or maybe before, but you were talking about the idea of the hammer and the nail. Like everybody wants to be the
Yes,
hammer and nobody wants to be the
exactly.
nail.
Mhm.
And once you get a chance to become the hammer, you got to be cognizant that you're not like just banging every nail out and like just
Yeah, son.
turning everybody around you into a nail,
Yeah,
right?
like it's my turn
So
now.
yeah,
Yeah, you know.
yeah. So you got to be. That's a good example because it like in victory, victory can mean a lot of different things, man. Victory can mean, like you said, like even a physical fight or beating your bully. But victory can also mean getting that promotion at work or winning in
Mhm.
some sports contest, whatever it may be. You have to understand that once you've won, that's when you may be at the most vulnerable. And also, once you've won, you have to be like a kind of a gracious winner, or you
Yeah.
you you run the danger of becoming kind of a target for others. You draw negative attention to yourself by not being a gracious winner sometimes.
Yeah. And I have another quick story about that. I played
Yeah.
for any people they may know, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I played tennis in college. So
Hmm.
we were bad, yo. Like every just go we used to like to call ourselves like the Bad News Bears or the MEAC, right? Because that's our conference we played. We were
Yeah.
bad. But there was very rare opportunities where we played somebody who was worse than us.
Yeah.
And I remember one match that we was playing, and one of my teammates, he was beating the brakes off of this kid, right? And while we're watching him beating the brakes off this kid, he's like dancing on the court. He's doing all these stupid gestures and all this stuff. And 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 I'm getting mad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yo, most that's us usually. Like
Yeah.
usually that's us on the other side of getting beat down like that. And the person on the other side doesn't ever act like that with us. They come, they shake our hands, we take our beatings, we come to the net and we walk off. You out here dancing like a knucklehead, like a fool, and now look how we look to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
look
Look
how
like a
we look to
bully.
them. You look like, yeah, like a pompous fool, you know? So always, always be humble, man. Always be humble. My next one is law number 40. Despise the free lunch.
Mm.
Yeah. What do they expect in return? You have to ask yourself these questions. You say, what do they expect in return? What
Yeah.
influences are they gaining? And what obligations am I taking on by accepting whatever free gift or anything that you're saying? And when I saw this, I thought about, you remember Cadillac Records?
I never saw the movie. I know what Cadillac Records is,
So
absolutely, but
Cadillac
I
Records,
never watched the movie to be honest.
Yeah, with Muddy Waters and stuff. It's basically talks about the I think it was Adrian Brody was starring in there. Beyonce was in there. Um but there's a part in it where he's created Cadillac Records with all of these icons,
Hmm.
Howling
And
Wolf
Jeffrey
and
Wright was in it too, right?
Jeffrey
Jeffrey Wright
Wright.
is
Well,
in it.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Wright played Muddy Waters.
Okay.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Wright
Yeah. Yeah.
played
Okay.
Muddy Waters, yeah. Um, so Adrian Brody was the owner of Cadillac Records, and he was Cadillac Records they called because he would always give his new artists a Cadillac. And then Howling Wolf signed with them, and Howling Wolf drove this old raggedy pickup truck, yo. And so when Adrian Brody is telling him about, yeah, we're gonna sign you to this deal and we're gonna do this and you're gonna get a brand new Cadillac, he's like, no, thank you, boss. Like I'm fine with my my pickup truck. It's done me good up until now. It's going to do me good now still when I need it. I don't need nothing. Don't give me anything but what's owed to me. He said, I believe was the exact quote of the movie. And then
Mm.
come to find out, he was the smartest person in the room because Cadillac Records, when these guys were looking for their money and they weren't getting their money wasn't right. The first thing he did was tell them well, this is where your money is. You like these Cadillacs and all these free cars you think you're cutting. It's not free. This is coming out of like your budget. And this is one of the things in the record business when you think of like these 360 deals and these advance money,
Hmm.
like when they tell you like you're getting signed, you're getting these big lump sums of money. The thing that they
It's the
don't tell you
loan. It's a big.
is
It's the
that it's
worst
a
loan you
loan.
could get. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
The
most
worst
loan,
loan you're ever gonna get. Yeah.
the worst loan ever, so they don't tell you that. And you don't inquire it because somebody's just giving you something free and you don't want to see anything that's attached. Oh, and the movie, have you seen King Richard with the Williams sisters and Will
Yeah.
Smith
Yeah.
played the
Yeah. Yeah.
father?
Yeah.
Remember
Absolutely.
when
Yeah.
remember when they were at like the tennis club and they were eating cookies and hamburgers and
Yeah.
everything? And he was like, everything in here has hooks in them.
Yeah.
So he
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
what you eating? No, it's free. That nothing in here is free. Everything in here has hooks in them. So,
So
don't
somebody
take
expects
anything that
something.
someone always expects something from you. If something is my daddy always said, if something looks too good to be true, it usually is.
Yeah.
So despise a free lunch. Always take I just want what's owed to me, as Howlin' Wolf said. That's law number 40.
That's a good one. I always have a tendency to be like, "Hey, this is free, right?"
Yeah.
I'd be
Like
like,
I'm not
"No." I'd
gonna
be like,
lie.
"Nah." I tell people like, I'm not. I don't have anything to give you back.
Yeah, yeah,
I let
yeah,
people know. I let people know up front, like, "Hey, I don't have any money to give you. I'm not paying for this. Like, this is free, right?" I
yeah,
always
man.
confirm.
Like this is free. Like I'll take a free
at least,
T-shirt. I'll
at
take a
least
free
as a,
mug. Hmm.
I think as like like as an older adult now, um, I tend not to want free stuff, but as a young man, I used to be like,
Oh
"Hey,
my gosh.
this is really free, right?" Like,
Yes.
like I would kind of confirm that this is free, so we don't have any problems later because I don't have anything to give you. Don't expect anything back. Like, I just want to confirm
Yeah.
that this is free.
Yeah. My weakness is a free T-shirt, bro.
Yeah, I was
That's
a
my
little.
kryptonite. A free T-shirt. You put a free T-shirt in front of me.
Yeah, I think I was a little more like uncouth, like as a
Yeah.
younger person. So it's either free or it's not. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I can't wait to tell that line though. Everything got hooks in them. Everything here
Yeah,
got hooks.
everything got hooks in them.
Yeah,
But
man.
no, that makes a lot of sense, man, because it does feel like, and this is one of those laws again that's kind of, it feels diabolical and it feels uncomfortable because it's hard to kind of face the reality that even if somebody's giving you something, they expect something in return. Like people are doing things a lot of times with ulterior motives in mind, man. We
Hmm.
joke about it, but it's kind of a sad reality that there truly is no such thing as a free lunch most of the time, right? Like
Yeah.
people want something in return for
Yeah.
their effort and their gift and their kindness, their perceived kindness, right? That they're gonna expect something in return eventually from you. So
Yeah.
nothing is truly free. It may not cost you right up front, but eventually they're gonna want some return on their investment or a return for what they did for you. They're
Yeah.
gonna want a favor, right? It's always a favor for a favor. And it's unfortunate, like, and there's exceptions to these things, right? There's gonna be people that are very sincere and that really give out of the kindness of their heart. You're gonna run into people that really just like having you around or like your company enough to like just give you
Yeah.
what they can, or people that have so much that giving of what they have is really not a big deal for them, right? But that's going to be rare, few and far between.
Hmm.
So it's just one of those things you got to keep in mind. Like you got to be at least leery of the free lunch.
Always flip over the
So
back to see that expiration date.
yeah, like yeah, you gotta read. Yeah, you gotta see the expiration date. You gotta read the
Hmm.
fine print, so to speak. Right, like you gotta
Yeah.
just like kind of like read between the lines on things. Like if
If
people
somebody's
offer you
selling you
something,
strawberries, like 5 packs of strawberries for $2,
yeah,
you
you
know,
gotta.
flip them over and look at the expiration date, my man.
Yeah, exactly. Like so something's fishy, you know? So
Hmm.
so yeah, it's a good one, but it's one of those ones that's kind of just uncomfortable in terms of like what it says about kind of human nature, ambition and motivations.
You got another one? I got one more after this.
I have is actually the last law, the 48th law,
Mm.
about it's assumed formlessness, right? It says, this is Green's final law because it unifies many of the previous ones. Rather than mastering a fixed set of tactics, the ultimate source of power is the ability to adjust to changing circumstances.
Mm.
Um, Basically, this one is about like kind of like I just said, adjusting to circumstances, right? Like kind of not fixing yourself in any one position, right? Like making sure that you're flexible, making sure that you're nimble, and making sure that you're able to kind of adjust to what's happening, right?
Mm.
So Robert Greene actually is interviewed, and I like in preparation for this, I watched a couple of his interviews, right? And when he talks about the most important law, he actually says that this is the most important law to remain
Mm.
formless is to him the most important law. And as the author, I took that pretty seriously in assessing this, right? And what he says is that he really when he writes this 48th law, he says that you should actually ignore the other 47, right? He said
Mm.
that this law, what it's telling you is to ignore the other 47 laws. Don't be tied to any of these rules, which I found kind of like ironic, but at the same time, as he explains himself, I'm like, wow, I get what he's saying. Like he's saying
Yeah.
kind of like be your own kind of judge, right? Like you like understand your own instincts and your own gut feelings, your own emotions, and kind of act accordingly, right? Like, learn enough that you know how to adjust yourself to any circumstance, like be flexible. Like Bruce Lee, I think, said this too, like to
I
be
feel like he
formless.
got that
Yeah,
from him. I always felt like be shapeless, be
maybe.
formless, be
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
be water.
be
Hmm.
water, be
Hmm.
formless like water, right? Like
Hmm.
so, be like water. Water can crash. Water can fit into a cup. You know,
Yeah.
water
Hmm.
water is flexible to whatever situation you put it in, right? So this one resonates with me for that reason. Why, especially when he in his interview says that this law is really telling you to ignore the other 47
Yeah.
and, and to just use what you know, what you've learned, and what your instincts tell you to be able to adjust to whatever the situation is, right? And to do the right thing, like for yourself according to that, right? So this is one that I felt like was a very important one because he's saying that even Robert Greene himself is saying that this is the most important one, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So and I feel like all of us have had to kind of do this in different situations, right? Like, because I guess to tell a little anecdote, like my mother used to ask me like how I did so well in school, and like I must love it. She said, right? And I told her like, nah, I don't really enjoy any of this. Right? And
Yeah.
she would always like we've had this. I think my mother and I have had this conversation several times because she's just either in denial of it or she forgets it or she just doesn't believe me when I say that. Right? Like when I talk about school, she's like, oh, but you did so well. I'm like, yeah, I did well because I was adjusting to what I needed to do. Right? Like I have this tendency to do what the circumstance requires, even if I don't enjoy it, right? Like so when it comes to whether it's school, whether it's a work situation, whatever it is, I think I'm smart enough to and I'm flexible enough to understand that I'm not going to enjoy every single thing that I have to do, right? But
Hmm.
I'm going to adjust and I'm going to kind of fit in. I'm going to get in where I fit in and I'm going to do
Hmm.
what what is required of me, right? But sometimes you have to do things that you really don't want to in order to get to like kind of an ultimate goal or to grow. You need to be very flexible and you need to
Mhm.
understand like you need to be able to flow like water.
Yeah, that's dope. And it's also like I interpret it also as being able to use the laws accordingly. So like I've made no secret that I dislike this book very much, but there are a lot of good principles and things that you can learn and use it to do the right thing by people. You know, instead of just
Sure.
using it as that person that's just looking at it as a way to just be to have control and influence and power over individuals, just to be very self-serving. This book can also be used as a way to help,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, Rick, like we were saying in the beginning, man, like some of these things are just uncomfortable truths, right? Like, and one
Yeah.
of those uncomfortable truths in this last law, especially being formless, is that there's nothing like, or people also say that there's nothing in life guaranteed except for change, right? Like the only thing, the only thing you know for sure is that things are going to change, right? And like the technology is changing, especially now. Like we're talking about artificial intelligence, technology is changing in such a way that people need to figure out how they fit in, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like law is one of those things that applies to people in these corporate environments because things are ever changing. Like not just with artificial intelligence, but technology has been changing like for years. Like every time you turn around, there's something new that you have to learn, right?
Mhm.
So being formless is one of those things that a lot of people have had to kind of encounter, even if you don't call it that, even if you're not aware of this law exactly and you haven't read the book, you've had times in your life where you had to quickly adjust. You had to quickly kind of realize that change is coming and I have to
Mhm.
adapt. Or if I don't adapt, then I'm going to wind up becoming irrelevant or I'm going to wind up losing this opportunity or whatever the case may be, right? Like you're going to lose out to other people that are adaptable, right? And when it comes to changing circumstances, I think that's the real takeaway, at least in my opinion.
Cool. All right, my final one is law number 9. Win through your actions, never
Mm,
through argument. Mhm.
show better than
And
tell.
that's right. Don't talk about it, be about it, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he says actions leave no room for debate. Actions change perspectives, and to use discipline and consistency to implement your action. He says words are cheap and you can waste hours debating only for the person to dig into their heels and never change their stance just off sheer stubbornness. And I
Mm,
think that is very relative, especially in today's world where you can't seem to sit down and have an intelligent conversation with some people about certain things and they just refuse to budge. You
right.
know, like they have to be shown, like they have to be literally walked over to something to tell, and then even still, then they may not believe it. But actions speak louder than words. Don't sit there talking because sometimes, what do they say? When two people are arguing, you can't. What is it? I'm
Yeah, it
jacking it
says
up,
nothing
but
like
it
never argue with a fool because from a distance people can't tell the
can't tell
difference.
who is who. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So went through your actions and never through argument. That's
Yeah,
the final
absolutely.
law that I have,
Absolutely.
law number 9. That
Yeah,
might be my
and
favorite.
that's a
Mhm.
good one, man, because a lot of times people say like, don't listen to what people say, watch what they do too,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
it applies to like not only like you trying to win people over in terms of like an argument versus your action, but it also gives you something to observe, right? Like you can observe people and what they do versus what they say and kind of get the
Yeah.
real story out of it, and that
Yeah.
applies really, like you said, like it applies. I feel like it's very relevant to what's happening right now with, our current administration,
Mhm.
with our, people in power,
Yeah.
you know, business executives, and everybody that we're seeing kind of in the media nowadays. You kind of can see that there's a really distinct difference between what they're saying is happening and then
Mhm.
what you're actually seeing sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like that's really relevant. And my mother used to always say I could show you better than tell you. That seems to
Yeah.
be that I know that's a saying that a lot of our parents probably told us that I
Mhm.
could show you better than tell you is just like a thing, right? Like and even that type of those type of like clever sayings, like it expresses like a wisdom that you really don't need to read Robert Greene's book. Like I said, like some of these things that Robert Greene points out are just kind of like universal or ancient or old truths that just get passed down in other ways too. And he just expresses something that we are already experiencing, right? So the
Yeah.
idea of watching somebody's actions versus what they're saying and making sure that they align. Um, I feel like that's just like kind of a universal thing that we've all seen some examples of.
Yeah. So you got anything else to add before we shut this down?
Nah, man, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm all lawed out. These are the
All Lord,
laws.
I'm all Lord out, yo. I've told a few people out there. I've told many people about this book, and recommended that many people read this book. Hopefully they listen to me. Hopefully they have read this book, and hopefully they haven't fell for any of the traps or the pitfalls that are talked about in this book. And more importantly, if they're friends of mine, I hope you haven't used too many of these these laws against
Yeah.
other people,
Yeah,
you know,
hopefully you're using this for good, you know. If you
for
if you know
good.
about this, use it
Yes.
for good.
Yeah, because I will have my children read this book when they come of age.
Yeah,
And
I think I will too. I never
yeah,
gave that a lot of thought, like whether or not
yeah.
the kids would benefit from this or whether or not I would
Hmm.
read something like this. But I think in retrospect, like and now that you mention it, I should have them read it and I should kind of go over these things with them,
Yeah.
because these are things that have like historical evidence as to what the result would be if you follow it and what happens when you don't follow it, what happens when somebody is using it against you.
Hmm.
Then also like which one of these things kind of are positive and which one of these are just like acts of manipulation. Important to in some shape or form to go over these things with your kids. Maybe you're not word for word, like maybe we're not going to review this book exactly, but I
Yeah.
feel like these are things that somehow or another I'm going to wind up teaching my kids about in some way.
Yeah. So
So
this concludes episode 47 of the Gen Expertise Show. Shout out to our now day 47s. We're almost a year in.
wow.
Shout out to our day ones and everyone in between. And as usual, and as always, switching up the cadences. Shout out to our day one. Day one. Salute to you, brother. Salute to you as always, brother.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you know what, man? Law number one.
Since we are prolific,
That's right, my brother. Since we are
the Gen
prolific,
X laws, yeah.
we will be back next Wednesday, same Gen X time, same Gen X place. Peace and power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast. Peace.